So I want you to really ask yourself, where have I been treating one moment like a life sentence? Where I've been acting like one hard thing is the final truth about me? Because again, that may be true about a moment, but is it true about you? And that question matters so much because something ended, something failed, maybe something hurt or it didn't work. Okay, that's great. But is that the truth of who you are? Is that the truth of one moment? There's a difference. And when you can learn the difference, your whole life can change because then you stop handing your identity over to temporary outcomes. Welcome to the Watch Me podcast. This is a podcast about challenging the stories in your head, breaking mental health stigma, and refusing to stay inside the boxes other people put you in. My name is Lauren, but you can call me Lo because that's what my friends call me. And hopefully we can become friends. So failure, that is what I want to talk about today because I think a lot of us say, I'm afraid to fail. But what we really mean is I'm afraid to try. I'm afraid to be seen trying. I'm afraid to put my heart into something and not get the outcome I wanted. Or I'm afraid to disappoint myself. I'm afraid for people to know that I cared. I'm afraid that if it doesn't work, it will confirm some ugly thought I already care about myself. And that's deeper. That's more honest. And that's usually where the real work is. So I really want you to ask yourself, what in my life am I delaying, avoiding, overthinking, shrinking, or talking myself out of because I'm scared to fail? And I want you to be honest here. Like not polished, not cute, not the answer you think sounds evolved to give me, but like the real answer. I always say when I ask myself questions, there's my brain and it tells me what it wants, but there's a voice back here before I even like start answering and they talk first. And like we normally ignore it and we try to like rationalize and we think up here, I'm a very visual person, if you can see, if you're watching this on video. But the voice back here, like behind your head, is like telling you the truth first and then you ignore it. I want you to ask yourself that question and I want you to ask what you're fearing and what that fear of failure means to you. And I want you to listen to that voice back here first. And the reason I can talk this way about this the way I do is because I know fear very well. I still deal with it. Feared this podcast for the longest time. If you don't know, I had a podcast prior to this for a year or two or so, a couple of years ago. It was called That Mental Ship. And I feared starting this up again. I feared putting my heart into it, putting time into it or effort for showing up for it and doing all of this and it going nowhere. I fear it being for nothing. And when I sat with that, really sat with that, I realized my fear of failure wasn't just about failing. It was like this deeper fear that like all my hard work will be a waste of time. And that's the real sting for me. It's not like just the loss or the disappointment, but the thought that I could care so deeply about something and work hard and try fully and it still not become what I hoped. That hurts. Like, and maybe that's your fear too. Or maybe it's different. Maybe yours is, what if I embarrass myself? What if I put myself out there and nobody cares? What if I try and people judge me? What if I don't have what it takes? What if I finally go for it and it proves that I was never enough? And then notice what comes up in your body when I say that. That reaction tells you something because fear of failure is rarely just about the thing. It's about the meaning we attach to the thing. Does that make sense? It's fear of failure is rarely just about the thing. It's about the meaning we attach to the thing. And that meaning, that belief, it usually didn't come from nowhere. A lot of the fears you deal with did not start now. They started earlier. They started in moments where failure once got attached to shame, to embarrassment, to rejection, to not being chosen, to not measure up, to feel exposed, to feeling like trying and not getting the outcome meant something was wrong with you. And I think that's where a lot of people miss the real issue. They keep trying to fix this present fear without understanding the old wound underneath it. But you can't change a pattern you haven't named. You can't change something about yourself if you don't even know what it is. So that's where I need you to stop and like look at your life. Where did I first start connecting failure to who I am? Where did I first start believing that if something didn't work, it meant something bad about me? For me, a lot of that goes back to middle school. I know we've talked about this before, trying out for choir, trying out for plays and not making it, trying hard in school and still not getting the grades I wanted, still failing, still feeling like I was putting this effort and somehow the results weren't there. And when you're young, you don't always know how to process this in a way, right? You don't say, well, like, this is a disappointing moment, but it's not a defining one. No, you think like, I tried and I wasn't good enough. I hoped and I still didn't get picked. I worked and it didn't pay off. People saw me want something and then I didn't get it. And that's embarrassing. And I let myself down. And that stuff stays with you. It gets in there. And if you never question the meaning you gave those moments, you carry them into adulthood and start making new decisions from that old path. So maybe you're think you're just scared to launch the business or post the content or start the podcast or write the book, apply for the job, leave the relationship, start over. But really, maybe some younger version of you is still trying not to feel embarrassed again. And that's real. And your story may not be choir or grades. Maybe yours was sports or friendships, or maybe yours was your home life and being criticized by your parents. Maybe yours was having parents who acted like mistakes were some kind of emergency. Maybe yours was trying so hard and still feeling like you kept coming up short. Whatever it was, I want you to challenge that story, because that may not be true about a moment, but it is true about you. And that's the question. That may be true about a moment, but isn't true about you, because those things aren't the same. A failed moment and a failed identity are not the same thing. A rejection and unworthiness are not the same thing. A setback and an I'm not enough are not the same thing. But when we're hurt, we blur those lines, and that fear starts running our life. A fear of failure is sneaky. It does not always show up like looking dramatic. It does not always show up with sirens and alarms. A lot of the times these things sound practical. Sometimes it says I'm just waiting for the right time. I just want to be more prepared. I need more clarity. I need to be healed first. I need to know exactly what I'm doing so I don't mess it up. Sometimes fear wears these blazers and carries a clipboard, and it looks responsible. And it looks like it knows what it's doing, but a lot, it's just fear. It's still fear dressed in this fancy little outfit, pretending it knows what it's doing. And if you're not being honest about that, you will keep calling it discernment when it's actually avoidance. Be honest with yourself here. Where are you doing that in your life? Where are you dressing fear like logic? Where are you calling it timing when it's just terror? Where are you telling yourself you're not ready, but the truth is you don't want to risk disappointment? That's where I need you to stop and look at your own life. Where am I holding back just enough to protect myself from disappointment? That question will read you, because a lot of people are not fully showing up. They're half showing up. They're half trying. They're half committing. They're half believing, launching, speaking, hoping. And then when the thing doesn't work, fear says, see, I told you. But hold on, did you really fail? Did you never really fully get in the game? That's the hard question, but it matters. Sometimes you're not failing because you're incapable. Sometimes you're holding back just enough so that it flops. You can tell yourself it really didn't count. That's just self-protection. That's fear trying to help. And again, it's not about judging yourself. This is about understanding yourself, because if you understand that pattern, you can interrupt it. But we also need to talk about the cost of letting that fear lead, because people talk a lot about the pain of failure, but we don't talk enough about the pain of not trying. And avoidance has a cost too. It costs your confidence, your momentum, your growth, opportunity, self-respect. It costs the life you might have built if you had just been willing to look stupid for just a minute. And regret is heavy. There's a very specific pain that comes from knowing you didn't even give yourself a chance. That kind of pain lingers. It follows you. It pops up years later when you're watching somebody else do the damn thing you wanted to do, and you're sitting there thinking I let fear make that decision for me. And I don't want that for you. When I look at my own life, some of the best things happen because I did it scared. I moved to Oklahoma. That could have failed. That could have gone badly and not worked out, but it led to a great job and a season in life where we got pregnant with my son. We moved to California for a job that might not have worked out. And now that decision is tied to the new life we built, the house, the years with this company I've worked for, the memories, the travel, the friendships, this whole chapter. And the part that really gets me is the first time we moved to California, it did not work out. So imagine if I had taken the first failed attempt and made it mean, well, I guess that wasn't for me. I guess the dream was a no. I guess we should stop trying. And I would have missed this part of my life I have now. And that matters, because fear loves to act like one disappointment is the end. But sometimes the first thing not working out is exactly what leads you to the thing that does. And that's why I want you to challenge that story. What if the thing that didn't work out was not proof you should stop, right? What if it was redirection? What if it was training or preparing you? What if it was building something in you right before life gave that something to you? That belief didn't come from nowhere. I get it. But it also doesn't have to stay. And that's why I think that reframe matters so much. Because if your definition of failure is it didn't go exactly how I hoped, exactly when I wanted, exactly the way I pictured, then yes, you are going to feel like shit. You're going to feel like a failure a lot. And that definition is trash. Absolutely trash. It's too shallow. It's too rigid. It's immature. And so the better question is, what did it teach me? How did this sharpen me? What did this reveal? How did this build me? What would I not know now if this had gone perfectly? Because when I look at my own life, Honestly, everything that didn't work out still taught me something. Ice skating taught me hard work and resilience. School taught me that I learned differently. Losing jobs became a catalyst for me. Network marketing taught me that I don't quit and that I know how to train and inspire people. So even the things that didn't work still worked on me. And I want you to really ask yourself, what in my life have I called failure that actually taught me, built me, redirected me, prepared me? Write that down. Seriously, write it down because your brain is really good at keeping receipts for pain. It's not always good at keeping receipts for proof. You need proof. You need to build your own evidence file. You need to be able to look back and say, no, hold on. This didn't destroy me. It developed me. That didn't end me. It redirected me. That didn't make me less. It made me more. That matters. And I also think we need to talk about self-judgment because I think a lot of people believe they're afraid of other people judging them. Sure, sometimes, but a lot of the time you are afraid of your own judgment, your own disappointment, your own self-talk, your own mind turning on you, and your inner voice saying like, see, I knew I couldn't do that. And that's brutal because if every time something goes wrong, you emotionally beat the hell out of yourself, of course it's going to be terrified to try. If failure means emotional abuse from your own mind, why would you even risk it? And some of this work is not just becoming braver, it's becoming safer for yourself. Read that again. It's becoming safer for yourself. Some of the work is not just becoming braver, it's becoming safer. It's learning to say that hurt me, but I'm still with me. That disappointed me, but I'm not abandoning myself. That didn't go how I hoped, but I'm not going to turn on myself because of it. I can be disappointed without being destructive. I can fail at something without becoming a failure, and that's huge. That is healing. And for me, this was especially true with bipolar. I could not afford to make every failed medication, every setback, every hard season mean I was hopeless. If it didn't work, I had to pivot. If medication failed, I had to keep going. If something was not helping, I found another path. I never let fear of not being strong enough to heal stop me from fighting for myself. And I mean this very seriously. If I had let fear run this part of my life, I don't even know if I'd be here. That's how serious I am when I said fear can steal your life if you let it. And maybe your situation looks different, but the principle is the same. You cannot let one hard outcome become your final conclusion. So I want you to really ask yourself, where have I been treating one moment like a life sentence? Where I've been acting like one hard thing is the final truth about me? Because again, that may be true about a moment, but is it true about you? And that question matters so much because something ended, something failed, maybe something hurt or it didn't work. Okay, that's great. But is that the truth of who you are? Is that the truth of one moment? There's a difference. And when you can learn the difference, your whole life can change because then you stop handing your identity over to temporary outcomes. And I think that's one of the biggest things I want people to understand in this episode. Failure is just an event. It is not an identity. Disappointment is an experience. It's not a definition. Setback is a part of life. It's not proof that you are unworthy. And something else that has really changed the way I move through life is I genuinely believe everything works out for me. I really do. Every morning I tell the universe, I go outside, I stretch, and I say everything always works out for me. And I don't mean that in some fake delusional glitter unicorns way where I pretend hard things don't hurt. I just trust that even when something doesn't go how I planned it, it can still build me. It can redirect me and sharpen me and reveal something and prepare me. Because now failure is not a giant final ending in my mind. It's part of the unfolding. It's part of the becoming and the training. And maybe that's the mindset shift you need too. That not everything will go exactly your way, but the life can still serve you through the things that disappoint you. That's the universal mindset. That's the trust. That is saying, I may not understand it right now. I may not like it right now. I may not have asked for this, but that doesn't mean it can't still work for me. And when you start believing that, fear loses its grip because now the question is, how do I make sure I never fail? That question is useless. The better question is, how do I stop making failure mean something devastating about me? And that's the work. And once you stop doing that, you free yourself up to try, to risk, to learn, to grow, to become, to actually live. So this is where I need you to stop and look at your own life. What is the thing you are most afraid of doing? And if that can be the very thing that changes your life. What if trying that thing that expands you, even if it doesn't look perfect? What if that next step is not supposed to be guaranteed? What if your old story is outdated? What if the pattern you're living from is no longer true? I want you to challenge that story. I want you to really ask yourself, what does failure mean to me right now? What's the worst outcome if I fail? Am I really afraid of that outcome or am I afraid of what it will mean about me? And what is the best outcome if I try anyway? Because fear loves worst case scenarios and it conveniently never wants to talk about possibilities. What if it works? What if this time it does not fall apart? What if this is the thing that opens the door? What if the thing that gets you known? What if this is the thing that gets you on stages and changes your life and helps somebody else survive because you finally stop hiding? That matters too. I also want you to ask, when do I remember feeling like I failed? What happened? What did I decide about myself in that moment? And the belief that, because that belief didn't come from nowhere. And then ask, when in my life am I already living proof that trying to build me? Where in my life am I already living proof that trying to build me even when things did not work out? Where am I holding back just enough? How would I treat a friend who failed at this? What would you tell them? Because you cannot heal a pattern you've refused to name, and you do not need certainty before you begin. You do not need proof before you move. You do not need to know exactly how it will turn out to be allowed to start. You just need to stop making fear the loudest voice in the room. Maybe the goal is not to become someone who never feels afraid to fail. It's to become someone who understands where the fear came from, notices it when it shows up, stops handing it authority, and moves anyway. Maybe the goal is to become somebody who can say, I know what failure used to mean to me. I know where that story started and how it shaped me, but I'm done letting the old wound narrate a season. And that is powerful and healing. And that is how things change, because your life is too important. Your voice is too important. Your purpose is too important. The people you are meant to help are too important. And the future you want is too important for you to keep waiting until you feel untouchable. That day is not going to come, but courage can come now. Fear can come too, honestly. Does not get the final word. And maybe that's what I want to leave you with today. Not that you need to become fearless or need to magically stop caring. Not that disappointment won't still sting, but that you can stop letting fear decide who you become. You can stop making one moment mean everything. And you can trust that even things that don't work out exactly how you hoped could still build you over and over again. So ask yourself the hard questions. Name the pattern. Challenge the story. Offer yourself grace, and then move. Scared, shaky, not totally sure, but move. Because fear can talk and it does not get to drive. And I'll end like I always will by saying, I love you, I'm proud of you, I believe in you, and if you can't believe in it yet, I got you until you do. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review, share this with a friend, and come hang out with me on Instagram at the Lauren Fritz.